My girlfriend decides to start making adult content, says she isn't cheating on me. It was just an ordinary day when my girlfriend, Sarah, dropped a bombshell on me. We had been dating for a year and a half, and I thought we were happy. But as she sat across from me at the kitchen table, I could tell something was different. Hey, so I've been thinking, she said, fidgeting with the hem of her sweater, and I've decided to start making adult content. My heart dropped into my stomach. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What do you mean? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I mean like videos and pictures and stuff. I'll be posting them online for people to see, and I'll be getting paid for it. I was speechless. This was not something I had ever expected to hear from her. Why would you want to do that? I asked, my mind racing. Well, I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think it could be a good way to make some extra money, she explained. And it's not like I'll be cheating on you or anything. It's just work. I didn't know what to say. On the one hand, I wanted to be supportive of her dreams and goals. But on the other hand, the idea of her sharing intimate content with strangers made me feel sick to my stomach. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that, I finally managed to say. Sarah looked at me, her expression sad. I understand if you don't want to be with someone who does that kind of work, but I hope you can understand that this is something I really want to do. We talked about it for hours, going back and forth. I told her how uncomfortable it made me feel, how I didn't want other people looking at her like that. But she was insistent that it was just a job and that it wouldn't change anything between us. Eventually, we came to a compromise. Sarah promised to only do solo content and to keep her face hidden in any pictures or videos she posted. She also agreed to be completely transparent with me about everything she was doing and to show me any content she created before she posted it. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was the best we could come up with. And for a while, things seemed to be going okay. Sarah was making decent money from her content, and she seemed happy doing it. But as time went on, I started to notice things. She would spend more and more time on her phone, answering messages from fans and setting up shoots. She started buying more and more lingerie and props for her videos. And even though she promised to show me everything before she posted it, there were a few times when I stumbled upon content she had created that I hadn't seen before. I started to feel more and more distant from her. It was like she was living in a different world, one where she was the center of attention and I was just an afterthought. I tried to talk to her about it, but she would always brush it off, saying that I was just being jealous and insecure. But the truth was, I was jealous and insecure. I didn't like the idea of her sharing herself with other people, even if it was just for money. And I didn't like feeling like I wasn't enough for her, like she needed this validation from strangers to be happy. One day, I decided to confront her about it. I don't think I can do this anymore, I said, my voice shaking. I don't think I can be with someone who does this kind of work. Sarah looked at me, tears in her eyes. I don't want to stop doing it, she said, her voice trembling. But I don't want to lose you either. We sat there in silence for what felt like an eternity, both of us unsure of what to say or do next. Finally, Sarah spoke up. I'll stop, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll stop doing the adult content if it means keeping you in my life. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't that I didn't want her to pursue her dreams, but the toll it was taking on our relationship was too much to bear. Thank you, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I love you. I love you too, she replied, her eyes locked on mine. It wasn't easy after that. Sarah struggled to find work that paid as well as her previous content creation, and we had to adjust to a new dynamic in our relationship. But we worked through it together, and in the end, it brought us even closer. Looking back on it now, I'm grateful for that experience. It taught me a lot about trust, communication, and boundaries in a relationship, and it showed me that sometimes love means sacrificing for the other person, even if it's not what you want. As for Sarah, she's still pursuing her passions, just in a different way, and I couldn't be more proud of her for doing what she loves while also prioritizing our relationship. In the end, our love prevailed over any challenges that came our way. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Story 2. My experience dating an OnlyFans girl. I never thought I would date an OnlyFans girl, but when I met Jenna, I knew I had to take a chance. She was funny, smart, and gorgeous. I fell for her hard and fast. At first, dating her was a blast. We would go out to fancy restaurants, dance at clubs, and spend lazy afternoons cuddled up in bed. But as time went on, I started to notice some issues. Jenna was always on her phone, scrolling through Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. She was constantly posting photos and videos, trying to get more followers and subscribers. I didn't mind at first, but it started to consume her life. She would spend hours taking photos and editing them, always trying to look perfect. She would even cancel plans with me to work on her content. I felt like I was competing with her phone for attention. I also started to notice how much attention she was getting from other guys. She would get DMs and comments from strangers, asking her for more explicit content. It made me uncomfortable, but Jenna brushed it off as just part of the job. One night, we went out to a bar with some of her friends. They were all OnlyFans girls too, and they were talking about their work like it was just a regular job. They joked about the guys who subscribed to their content, calling them losers and suckers. I felt like I was in a different world. I couldn't imagine sharing intimate photos and videos of myself with strangers, let alone making a living off of it. It made me question my relationship with Jenna. But I loved her, so I tried to ignore my doubts. I tried to be supportive of her career and even helped her with some of her shoots. But the more I got involved, the more I realized how much work went into it. It wasn't just about taking photos and videos. It was about marketing, branding, and creating a persona. Jenna was always on, always playing a character for her fans. It started to feel like I was dating a performer, not a real person. One day, Jenna came to me with some news. She had been offered a lucrative deal from a big-name company, but it involved doing more explicit content than she was comfortable with. She asked for my opinion, and I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell her not to do it, to protect her from potential harm. But another part of me knew that this was her livelihood, and I couldn't stand in the way of her success. In the end, she decided to take the deal, and that was the beginning of the end for us. The more explicit content she created, the more distant she became. She would spend long hours working, and when she wasn't working, she was too exhausted to do anything else. Our relationship became more like a business partnership than a romance. I tried to talk to her about it, but she didn't want to hear it. She was too focused on her career, on building her brand and making more money. And I realized that, as much as I loved her, I couldn't compete with that. I couldn't be with someone who put their job before their relationship. So we broke up. It was painful, but in the end, I knew it was the right decision. Dating an OnlyFans girl was an experience I'll never forget, but it taught me that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to put your own needs first, even if it means letting go of someone you care about. Let me know. Did they do the right thing here? Should she have quit? Story number 3. My girlfriend and I make adult content and she wants to bring more girls into our videos. Should I be nervous? I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to make adult content for a living. But here I am, in a loving and committed relationship with my girlfriend, making videos for people's viewing pleasure. And now, she wants to bring other girls into the mix. When my girlfriend, Jenna, first brought up the idea of involving other women in our videos, I was hesitant. I knew it was all just an act and that we were both fully committed to each other, but something about the idea of her being intimate with another person made me feel uneasy. However, Jenna was quick to reassure me. She explained that she didn't want to just bring anyone in, but rather women that she had vetted and felt comfortable with. She also reminded me that we were both in control of the situation and that we had strict boundaries that we would not cross. Eventually, I came around to the idea, and we started to reach out to some of Jenna's female friends that she knew were open to this kind of thing. We made sure to be very upfront with them about what we were looking for and what we were not comfortable with. At first, it was a bit awkward. Having more than 2 people in the room made everything feel a bit crowded, and there was a lot of talking and laughing between takes. But once we got into the groove of things, it was actually quite fun. Jenna was very careful to make sure that everyone was comfortable at all times. She would check in with each girl regularly and make sure that they were okay with what was happening. We also made sure to have strict rules about what was and was not allowed during the filming process. Despite all of this, however, I couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. I trusted Jenna completely, but I also knew that things could go wrong. What if one of the girls started to feel uncomfortable and wanted to stop filming mid-scene? What if Jenna started to develop feelings for one of the other girls? As the weeks went on, we continued to bring different women into our videos. Some were more experienced than others, but all were willing to play by our rules. It was interesting to see how each person brought their own unique flavor to the videos. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the girls we had been filming with started to develop feelings for Jenna. At first, it was just a little crush, but then it started to become more serious. Jenna was quick to put a stop to things. She made it clear that while she was attracted to this girl, she was committed to me and our relationship. She also made sure to let me know what was going on and was very transparent about her feelings. It was a difficult situation to navigate, but Jenna and I both agreed that we needed to put an end to things with this girl. It was a shame because she was great on camera and we had developed a good working relationship, but our relationship with each other had to come first. After that incident, we were a bit more cautious about who we brought into our videos. We still continued to work with other women, but we were more careful about how we approached things. Jenna also made sure to keep me in the loop about any potential crushes or feelings that she might have. Looking back on everything, I can honestly say that I have no regrets. While it was nerve-wracking at times, it was also incredibly fun and exciting. It brought us closer together as a couple and helped us to explore our boundaries in a safe and controlled environment. If you're in a similar situation to mine, my advice would be to go for it, but proceed with caution. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Story number 4. My girlfriend wants me to date other girls to spice up our relationship. What should I do? It was a typical Wednesday evening when my girlfriend, Emily, dropped a bombshell on me. We were sitting on the couch, watching TV when she turned to me and said, "I have something to tell you, and I hope you're not going to freak out." I immediately tensed up. Whenever someone starts a conversation like that, it's usually not good news. "What is it?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Well, you know how we've been together for a while now, and things are starting to feel a bit stale." I nodded. We'd been dating for a little over a year, and while I still loved her, I had to admit that our relationship had lost some of its spark. I was thinking, she continued, that maybe we should try something new, something that could add some excitement to our relationship. I furrowed my brow. Like what? She took a deep breath. Like dating other people. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what she was saying. Was she breaking up with me? Was she suggesting we have an open relationship? Wait, what do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I mean, I want us to date other girls, she said, looking me straight in the eye. Together, as a couple. I was stunned. I'd heard of couples experimenting with non-monogamy before, but I'd never thought it was something we'd do. I'd always assumed that Emily was as committed to me as I was to her. I don't know if I can do that, I said, shaking my head. I mean, it's one thing to fantasize about other people, but actually going out and dating them. That's a whole nother level. Emily leaned over and took my hand. I understand if you're hesitant, she said, but think about it. We could have so much fun together. We could meet new people, try new things. It could be exactly what we need to reignite the spark between us. I didn't know what to say. Part of me was intrigued by the idea. I'd always been curious about what it would be like to be with other women, and the thought of doing it with Emily by my side was definitely appealing. But another part of me was scared. What if I got jealous? What if Emily fell in love with someone else? I need some time to think about it, I said, pulling my hand away from hers. I can't just make a decision like this on the spot. Emily nodded understandingly. Of course, take all the time you need. But just remember, I love you, and I only want what's best for us. The next few days were a blur of confusion and anxiety. I couldn't stop thinking about Emily's proposal. On the one hand, I was intrigued by the idea of exploring our sexuality together. On the other hand, I was scared of what might happen if we went down that road. I decided to do some research. I spent hours reading articles and forums about non-monogamy, trying to get a sense of what it was really like. I talked to a few friends who had tried it, and they gave me a range of opinions. Some said it was the best thing they'd ever done for their relationship. Others said it had been a disaster that had led to jealousy, heartbreak, and even a breakup. One thing was clear, non-monogamy wasn't for everyone. It required a high level of communication, trust, and emotional maturity. After several days of reflection and research, I finally sat down with Emily to talk about her proposal. I told her that while I was open to the idea of exploring our sexuality together, I had some concerns about the potential risks involved. Emily listened patiently as I laid out my fears. What if one of us got jealous? What if one of us fell in love with someone else? What if it ended up damaging our relationship irreparably? In response, Emily reminded me that we were both mature adults who were capable of communicating our feelings and desires effectively. She said that we could establish clear boundaries and ground rules before embarking on this adventure, and that we could always reevaluate our decision if it wasn't working out for us. With Emily's reassurances, I began to feel more confident about the prospect of non-monogamy. We talked more about what it would look like in practice. Would we be looking for casual hookups or more serious relationships? Would we be dating together or separately? Would we be allowed to see the same person multiple times? Or would we need to keep things strictly casual? Eventually, we settled on a set of ground rules that we both felt comfortable with. We agreed that we would only date women, and that we would always be transparent with each other about our experiences. We also decided that we would only date together, not separately, and that we would prioritize our relationship above all else. With our ground rules in place, we tentatively began to explore the world of non-monogamy. At first, it was exhilarating. We met new people, tried new things, and discovered aspects of ourselves that we had never explored before. But as time went on, we began to realize that non-monogamy wasn't without its challenges. We had to deal with jealousy and insecurity, and there were times when we felt disconnected from each other emotionally. Through it all, though, we continued to communicate honestly and openly with each other. We talked about our fears and insecurities, and we worked together to find solutions that worked for both of us. Today, several years later, Emily and I are still together, and our relationship is stronger than ever. Non-monogamy isn't something we do all the time. We go through phases where we're more interested in exploring our sexuality together, and other phases where we're content to be monogamous. But we both agree that the experience has brought us closer together, and that it has helped us grow as individuals and as a couple. Looking back on that fateful Wednesday evening when Emily first broached the topic of non-monogamy, I realized that it was a turning point in our relationship. It forced us to confront our fears and insecurities, and it gave us the opportunity to explore a side of ourselves that we might never have discovered otherwise. So, to answer the question posed in the title of this story, what should you do if your girlfriend wants you to date other girls to spice up your relationship? The answer, as with so many things in life, is it depends. Non-monogamy isn't for everyone, and it requires a lot of communication, trust, and emotional maturity. But if you and your partner are both open to the idea and willing to put in the work, it can be a rewarding and fulfilling way to explore your sexuality and deepen your relationship. Well, that is it for today. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the notification bell. Click on this other video to hear more stories.